to order Wednesday, March 28th, the municipal building at 1 p.m., at 1:15 p.m.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this special meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on March 20th, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on March 20, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said former notice in the Township Clerk's Office on March 20, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Present.
Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mr. Nacastro.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, should we do that?
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Don't forget Harvey and Ken Allen.
Yes. If we would please have a moment of silence for our past chief, Harvey Morrell.
Also, a very helpful volunteer for many years, Ken Allen, who passed this past week.
Thank you. Since I went a little bit backwards, do we have any reason to go into executive?
Yes, Mayor, we do. Contract negotiations will be the topic to be
Okay,
discussed.
at this point, then I will close this portion of the meeting for...
Motion to go in executive.
Second.
I'll read the executive session reso.
Recognize Ms. Woman.
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the item previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and circumstance under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. I'd like to reconvene at 1:35. Oh,
I'm going to power off. They gave me a pen.
Thank you, dear.
Penny, pass that down to Jim Harris.
ready?
Talk to you about it later.
We don't need another roll call, right?
No. 4, right?
Yep, we're on 4, on discussion of the budget. Lou, I have a couple of questions,
Yes, ma'am.
actually requests more than questions.
No, I just-
On J10, there is $150,000 in overtime for Public Works. They used 139 last year. I would like to go down to the 139. If anybody wants to talk about that, that's...
I would just like to ask a question. I got no problem whatever we do. But Lou, I'd like to know how much we've spent in overtime already this year in the first couple months with DPW. Would you
Find
know
that
that
out.
answer?
I can give you what I have that's in the system at the moment. Just bear with me for a moment. So currently, in the temporary budget, we allocated $100,000 for DPW overtime. $67,195 has been expended to this point so far this year. To my recollection, I don't believe this includes overtime that was paid out for this past snowstorm that we had for last week. So that number would definitely go up again.
We're at 90 to 100,000 already, pretty comfortable, correct?
Yes, to be conservative, yes.
Then it doesn't sound like a good idea to limit it to what, last year was a much easier year on us when it comes to those extra things, storms and things, than this year has been.
Given the shape of some of the trees that I see that are
Yep.
growing out of the ground this way, I would think our DPW is going to be very busy with tree trimming so that none of these trees fall on cars.
And everything, not just tree
As
trimming, but
another example of what I think,
there'll be extra
Yeah.
brush and,
we have from the nor'easters,
Right.
there'll be a lot more pickup. I think we should leave it at 150.
What do we do when we're short? Like, we've been short a couple of years, Lou, we know that.
Couple years, but short, it depends on the scenario. Obviously, if it was related to snow removal, we can charge those overtime wages to the snow trust, but obviously, if it was something that was related to some other type of initiative, like you said, tree trimming, brush cleanup, we'd have to fund that through a transfer. If we were trending towards if we were trending towards an over expenditure, and/or if it wasn't able to be funded in transfers, we would have to do an emergency appropriation, which would then get funded in the following year's budget.
Where are we right now in our snow trust?
There's at least $700,000 in the snow trust, and I know that based on the transfers that I did at the last meeting, I intend on putting another $350,000 in there. So the snow trust will be funded enough to handle a good amount of storms similar to the season that we had this year.
What do we do with so much money in our snow trust? I'm just asking, why would we fund it 350,000 more if there's already 700 in there?
can I
Personally,
make a point,
Yeah.
please?
sure.
The snow trust has kept us out of trouble for eons, for decades. When other municipalities have storms which we have no way of planning for, end up getting into trouble, we're okay because we have a well-funded snow trust, and I don't think we should screw around with it. I think it saved us on many a day, and it's responsible budgeting, which is one thing that we have to remember, and not every time you gouge a budget the way we have the last couple of years, you fall behind. It's not necessarily reasonable or sensible or the best way to do things, because it eventually crashes.
So to answer your question, Mr. Walsh, the reason why there is so much funding in the snow trust, like I said, is to potentially fund a winter where we would, get seriously, clobbered as far as, a winter storm every other day, it's really to safeguard against a really nasty winter. I have been here, and one year, I want to say it was 13 or 14, and that snow trust got depleted, so I try my best to keep the reserves funded well, so that in that one year, that we do have a horrible winter, that we're not put into any kind of trouble for the budget, as Mrs. Smith alluded to.
I just think so. I'm not saying not to have anything on the side. I don't know if I agree with having $1 million in the snow trust. That's all.
But right now, there's a proposal to cut 11,000 out of the overtime for DPW, right? That's on the table?
And-
Yes.
But I think that's comparing it to last year. And
I
think
understand.
I think it should be compared to a like year weather-wise before you decide whether or not you should deplete at all the $11,000.
There's 5 of us, so.
Up to what everybody else wants, but I would.
Could we go through all of the cuts and then make decisions based on the full range of whatever those possibilities could be? Let's get it all out on the table and then take a consensus on the items.
As long as we don't forget about it, we end up
Yeah,
sometimes getting confused and
I
forgetting about it.
made a note, Pauline.
If you want to do it that way,
It's up to everybody,
Is that all right with you, Bob?
I'm just passing time here.
Okay, construction code. We have full-time personnel. We went up 23,000. Why is that?
In construction code, would that be
Under
projected
employees.
salary raises for a new contract?
I'll have that, bear with
Step increases.
Yeah, projected salary raises and step increases.
There's no new employees proposed in construction code.
Just asking.
Yeah, no, it's just
Over
the
6%.
step increases from the normal people that are going through the steps still.
It was, the steps as well as the reserve for the contract settlement.
Okay.
That is a department that you have, quite a bit of individuals. So that coupled with the step increases accounted for that increase.
And what do we put in to anticipate, or what do we put in the budget for increases in the contract?
2%, sir.
2%.
Telephone expenses went up. We added $50,000 to that.
That had to do with a lot of, there was some changes that I believe the police department had made from
I'm
copper
sorry,
lines.
it's not 50, it's less. I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
But there were some changes that the police department made for copper lines to T1 lines, I believe, that had to do with some of their radio service to the state police, as well as compatibility for this location as well to the DPW building as well. So there were some upgrades that then, because they were changing the technology, the cost had changed, and we had built it into the budget.
It doesn't come out of capital?
No, that's an operating expense monthly. Now, that's basically the cost of the
What,
T1
T1
lines.
lines?
Yes.
Again, so under municipal court, we have an increase of almost $35,000. and 100% in part-time. Did we add personnel?
That, the increases in the municipal court had to do with step increases as well. There was the reserve for the contract settlement. There was an increase in part-time wages that was requested by the department, and as well as the change in employee as far as a employee who was placed into the department was at a higher salary than the person she had taken over for.
And we also go to another day of court, I believe, and we spoke about that with the chief,
Right.
about doing it's not a drug court, but it's something a little bit different. So we have to have another day of court. So with that was the added security, the whole,
And I'm going to go back again to the uncollected taxes reserve for uncollected taxes.
Yes, ma'am.
We cannot cut that back, the 76,000?
We can, it's just, it's to safeguard in the event that any of the other taxing entities, the schools, the county, the fire districts, if their levies increase, then the township's collection percentage will have to take a greater burden, if based on those non-payers. So if that amount is lowered, I don't think it would substantially hurt us, but we always run that risk that if the other taxing districts' levies go up, then basically because we have to pay them 100% of what they're owed for the levy, the township pretty much has to deal with what's left over in the end based on what our collection is.
I'm sorry, what was that budgeted amount, Mayor?
76,000. I believe.
76?
Almost 77.
That was the increase from last year's amount to be raised, I'm sorry, reserve for uncollected taxes. I believe it's about 3.3 million is what we're actually budget for the township.
Yeah, if we don't get the taxes paid, we still have to pay the fire districts. We
Everybody?
still have to pay the school, we still got to pay everybody. The flip side is when there's a lot of new construction going on, we keep some of that, we don't have to pay it till the following year. That's the flip side. But as construction seems to be slowing up, it looks like that seesaw is going from here coming this way. Is that correct, Mr. Herman? With the
That's
amount-
correct.
With the permits and shovels being put in the ground as they're going downhill?
It's been going down every year for the last 3 or 4 years now.
So we were up here before, now it's coming this way.
I'm done.
So just to be clear, it's 11,000 you're proposing from the overtime and the 76,000 from the uncollected?
The uncollected.
We can take whatever, but if we don't collect it,
No, I understand.
we gotta pay it out. I
I-
mean, there's no just, we can take $1 million from that number. But if we don't get the money, we just gotta put it in next year's budget.
You're on the hook next year.
So we can take whatever.
So the cuts before us are 234,000 on the sheet that was given us today, plus another 87. Is that where we're at?
Where's the sheet?
It was on your desk when you came in.
Just this.
Yep, that's it.
Well, I'm not for cutting the upgrades. I mean, when we went through them doing budget discussions, and this is for everybody. I mean, I think some of these questions need to be brought when the department heads come before us. To tell them that we don't agree with your upgrades, we don't agree with your overtime. I mean, I think that as a governing body, we need to be able to say that directly to the department heads when they are here before us. That's just me. I mean, I'm not, I know that we've spoken about numerous upgrades that the manager had already removed from departmental request. I can name 15 to 18 off the top of my head okay, that equaled another $60, $70, $80,000. So a lot has already been cut from this, and sometimes you have to reward good, hard, efficient workers. I mean, how else do you reward them? You give them a little bit of, you give them an upgrade, maybe change them to a different position. I'm not for cutting the upgrades from the budget. That's just me. I give a lot of the workers credit. I've been here for 13 years, and I think a lot of them have come a long way.
And then the new hires were added back, so that was taken out as well?
All the hires were added back,
They were added
according to the sheet.
But remember, the engineering one in community development, that will not end up being an increase because there'll be a lot of that person's duties that will be done with contracts that are going out the door right now
Exactly.
to other engineering
And-
firms. This should have been done years ago.
Right.
I've been arguing about this for years. The same as the in-house attorney has saved us hundreds of thousands a year. The engineer under Mr. Herman will save us hundreds of thousands
And
a year also.
that's been proven several times over in the last 30 years. I've seen it argued for. We had a full engineering department. We saved a whole bunch of money when it came to consulting engineers. And that's up to those two gentlemen there to make sure that that happens.
There are outside companies we're paying well over $500,000 a year to, because Mr. Herman just can't do it all.
So
So-
so everyone's good with putting back the personnel?
Yeah,
What personnel? We have the welder from the DPW, is that correct?
back in this one?
This line is just the upgrades that were requested.
I understand, but
Not the
these
new
were the
person.
personnel upgrades that were asked for.
Was a welder, a
Personnel.
police officer, class 2,
Personnel was a police officer,
deputy
welder,
community development? Go ahead.
Well, he's just an engineer.
It was the Deputy Director of Community Development, the DPW welder mechanic, the Fire Bureau admin assistant, the full-time police officer, and the part-time class 2s.
I have no issue with the hirings. We
And I-
went through this time and time again. If anybody's willing to go against the agreement we made with the Board of Ed and the Police Department with the twos, I mean, I'm not personally, we made an agreement,
No, we signed a contract. We've
Okay.
obligated ourselves.
so.
And in light of things that have happened as of recent, not that that's any more horrific than the things that have happened in the past in school districts, I think to look at that in a different light now would be not just a disservice to the town, but a horrific mistake. So we made that agreement. I think we should stay with that agreement. Aren't
Would
you?
anybody else like to, any of the other hirees that we've agreed upon or talked about with the department heads, would anybody like to remove any of them specifically?
I'm good.
It's the 4 spots, the 4 areas,
Well, it's really-
right? Well, full-time.
It's really 5 because there's already a secretary in the Fire Bureau.
Correct. This would be a full-time, and I think we've exhausted our
So
part-time.
everybody else is good? Just so
I am.
because if not, I want to talk about it. I mean, I don't want to say after the fact, well, should have hired nobody. Okay?
I just have a question. I just want to make sure, these figures on this sheet are including those hires when it comes to the end result of what our proposed tax rate will be?
Not a proposed tax rate, just the amount of revenue, because we came up with other ways. But yes, the hirees already in the numbers.
That's what I was asking.
The average home in Howell will be getting a tax decrease in the municipal portion of their tax bill.
Assuming their assessment wasn't raised,
Yes.
which we have nothing to say about that.
That's always the
not our
unknown.
department.
Correct.
Although I don't agree with, and I wish there was something that could be done about it, because the way it's done automatically, I don't mean the 20% that are investigated, but actually on site, but when several houses in an area are sold, everybody's house in that area is raised. And that's not fair, because maybe the house is sold because they had an extra room, a redone den, whatever, all new kitchen, and yours hasn't, but yours is raised along with that price. That's not fair.
I don't think that that's what's happening. I don't
It
think
is
that-
what's happening. I see it every day.
Don't yell at me.
That has nothing to do with this. So, can we just keep it on track? So the upgrades we're keeping in, the employees we're keeping in?
Unless anybody wants to remove anything, if anybody wants to remove an employee, I want to have the discussion. Because we've had this discussion with department heads, we've had discussion in meetings with the manager. I want to have this discussion from the dais, if anybody wants
I
to.
don't have a
remove-
problem.
Seemed like no one had a problem.
We also, we're worried about the budget, the size of the budget, but we have a responsibility to do the right thing also. Otherwise, it comes to everything. It comes to the,
Well, some people lose concept of what the right thing is to them. To some people, it's different than what it is to others.
well, our job is to do something reasonable and sensible.
And to do the job.
To do it right, to actually do it, not just pass it off.
I agree.
I'm getting a little bit, I'm getting a little bit impatient with this whole process this year. I want it to be done properly.
Have we gone through the whole list, Mayor? What?
If you have a list, please go right ahead.
No, I didn't know if you were done.
I am done.
No, I don't have a list to take things out. No.
This is the list of things that were cuts.
List.
Is the motion just to introduce, Brian?
No, it's for both.
No.
There's nothing to read. We don't have to read anything to make a motion to introduce the
Yeah,
budget.
we needed to open it up to the public first.
No, because we're only introducing. No, it's just introducing the budget to the public. Is there any way we have to,
We eventually have to open,
Lou, back me up, but it's a simple motion and a second, correct, to introduce this budget?
Correct, for today,
So,
yes.
simple, motion, second, I'll take the roll call.
okay,
We'll open up to hearing the citizens later on in the meeting.
okay.
We can open it up when we like to, Ms. Swanman, or only when you would like us to? I'm just checking with you.
Let's
Just
follow
checking
the
with
agenda.
you. After 13 years. You've been ordering me around for 13 long years, woman.
I'm going to make a motion to introduce the budget, but putting back in the upgrades of 42,687. And I'm okay with removing the 11,000 from the Public Works overtime and the 76,000, was that the number? The 76 for the contingency?
Yes.
The reserve
Fuel?
fund collect as taxes.
So, based on the sheet today, that's my motion. So if there's a second, there's a second.
second, yes.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
No.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes,
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No.
In order to introduce the budget, there is an additional resolution that needs a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to introduce Resolution R-18-116, resolution of, shall I read this, Penny?
That'd be great.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Howell County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, certifying compliance with the United States Equal Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the considerations of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this. I really want to know from the two of you, what do you want changed? Why did you vote no to introduce the budget? What do you want changed?
Oh, my no vote is because I don't think we should take that money out. I think the uncollected taxes should be in there because it's appropriate. I think that the overtime in DPW was appropriate. When we first looked at this budget, nobody had a problem with this. All of a sudden, in the 11th hour, there's an issue. So my no is because I feel that the budget in its total was appropriate, accurate, and in the best interest of the township people. Myself included, I pay taxes.
Mayor?
My no was, the last meeting we were at, I had both Deputy Mayor as well as Councilwoman O'Donnell that were saying that the taxes are too high, taxes should not be going up in the town, that they wanted to make additional cuts. But I did work with Deputy Mayor Nicastro. We did go over the budget. We did cut some stuff out. I have heard no cuts from Ms. O'Donnell. She also discussed talking about some shared services in the town. I don't know what shared services. There was no discussion about that shared service. So I voted no.
Well, I can clear that up.
Okay, what?
There's
I
not
mean,
just-
you and I have spoken personally.
We have, but you
Yeah.
know what? I went over the budget, he went over the budget. I didn't get a call to say this is maybe the shared services that we might be able to do. What do you think about combining, or whatever the case might be, within the town, outside of the town? Only because I'm really not very well versed in that.
Yeah, I'm not I don't know what we should combine right now. That's why I didn't discuss with you.
Well, the only shared service we discussed was the
You and I.
seniors, and I said to you that unless there was another way of providing that service to the seniors, because you would have to send them to Freehold, Jackson, I wouldn't support that.
We actually talked about dispatch, which I did not support.
Right, so what other services can you cut in the town?
I didn't pose the
Well,
conversation.
I did, and I read your webmail, and when I spoke about this, I said that this budget, even if we did a public safety director, it would cost more money the first year, but maybe in the next 3 to 4 years, we would see a savings. Bringing fire departments together may be a savings in the future. And I had asked for the opportunity for our people, our professionals, to look into what can be done to best deal with the budget in the future. Because as I said, and I'll say it again, this budget will go up every year, just like your electric bill does, your grocery bill, your gas, your mortgage taxes. There's no mystery here. Next year, it's going to cost more to live in the state of New Jersey. So I think that we should be looking toward the future. Now, shared services, if we shared something today, if I had a list of the top 10 to do it today, it's not going to save us a penny in this budget.
And that's
So-
that's right, that's a good point, that's what I
So
was
that's the
going to
future.
say.
That's exactly the
We
future.
have to start on
Yes.
next year's today.
Exactly, and that's what I was asking for, those shared services. Right now, actually, the Shade
And you
Tree
can't do
Commission.
that, I didn't mean to step on you, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But you can't do that quickly.
Of course
There has
not.
to be a lot of research.
There's a lot of time invested
Discussion,
into the
well,
proper
and-
shared services.
right.
Right now, the
So-
Shade Tree Committee is speaking to the county, talking about the county's going to do the trees around the reservoir.
Right.
Perhaps we can use their people to do the trees around the roads that go around the reservoir that belong to the township. Now, that's a shared service that, as it goes along, and it's been done in the past, so it's a proven shared service. But, I mean, we need to start sharing things with our police department is a huge department. If we could do something, and rightfully so, I mean, there's a lot of officers, they're a huge component of safety in the community, definitely need them. We need to do something to help that budget go further. We're not going to need less services in the future, so we better find a way to make that dollar stretch. So that was my idea of shared services. I knew, just being up here in other committees, that a shared service doesn't appear overnight. So that's what I was talking about, the future, for the 18, 19, 20, 21, those budgets.
That's not why you voted no that night. You voted no saying that you wanted to see the tax rate was going up and you wanted it to go down.
Tax rate's not going up.
The tax rate.
Tax rate is not going up, people.
Excuse me, the levy.
And, if I could change the way the homes are assessed, I'd be happy to do that too, because the assessments will drive the money.
I don't
But-
mind if anybody wants to cut anything. I mean, I'll second the motion. If you tell me you want to cut this, I'll second it. I
Bob,
mean,
yeah.
I've been up here a long time,
Yes, you have.
okay? And it's, there are a lot of necessities out there. I mean, if somebody wants to say, here's some things that we have. If somebody wants to say, I want to make a motion not to pay the pension bill. I'll second it. That's $295,000. We all know it's illegal. If somebody wants to say, let's not pay the debt that we've already,
But people are getting
Incur.
into trouble because they're doing it.
okay? Well, you know what? I mean,
And we
these are
can't
things
do
we
that.
have to pay. I don't know what else to, I don't know what else to do here. I mean, if somebody else can be a bona fide reason to cut more money.
There isn't a bona fide
Okay,
reason.
give it to me, I'll second the motion, and I'll be glad to go with it and vote for it.
And
But
we
it bothers me, it truthfully does, it bothers me that both of you vote no to introducing the budget. Well, I don't hear nothing bona fide on what you want to cut to introduce this budget,
I want to cut nothing.
okay?
Of the budget we
Then-
introduced.
Then I'd appreciate it if you vote yes next time. Mayor, what do you want to cut?
I've already made recommendations. The recommendations that I have made
And some of them were
were,
accepted.
some were accepted
And some were
not.
explained.
Wait, what wasn't accepted?
I have to go back to all of
What
them.
else, yeah, I want to know
No,
what you
everything
want
we
to cut.
talked about was, so I want to know, because
What
I'm,
is the issue? Your budget
Hold on. It's our budget. It's the town's budget.
It is the
It's not
town's
my budget. It's not your budget. It's not his budget. It's not her budget. It's our budget.
And the township needs to function. And in order to function, we need to have an approved budget.
Yeah. I want to know what you want to cut. Really, it's not a bad question. What would you like to cut? If you'd like to get rid of police officers, just say it. I'll second the motion. If you want to get rid of DPW workers, just say it. I'll second the motion. If you want to get rid of the senior center and merge them with Howell Township, just say it. I'll second the motion. How much more you want from me? I want to hear from you, since you don't want to introduce this budget, what you want to cut.
I believe I mentioned everything that I covered. If I have to go back and look at it all again, I can go ahead and do
I would
that.
love to hear it again. I got a little bit of time on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
I don't.
Some of us don't.
And, I'll apologize in that sense, Bob, for saying no, because I should have said no and the reason why. But let me just do a full disclosure here. I think cuts of 11,000, 30,000 on specific departments after we heard them come to us and basically justify what they needed, and then the professionals go over it and say what they feel that they really need and what's palatable. I think at the 5th meeting for this budget, which still amazes me that we're on number 5, to still talk about 11,000 here, or 20 or 30,000 there, I mean, the real issue to save money is departments, is really cutting huge departments. I don't want to do that. And again, that's, that was my vote, but I think that the budget's a sound budget. And we have to introduce, well,
It's done, it's introduced.
Listen, you have to introduce, it's not an approved budget, but the fact of the matter is, it's politics. Mayor, you want to play politics with, you play politics, but that's what it is. Let's call it what it is, and let's move on.
I want to play politics. The two of you voted no last week. That wasn't politics?
And we made cuts. So I made recommendations that were,
I'm not
recommendations
gonna
that were
deal with
done.
that, Rob.
There was few cuts, there was
You're not gonna do that to
contracts.
me.
You're not,
Sorry.
we're calling it what it is. This is
Call
an
it what you like.
introduction. We know what it is, and then we'll move on to the budget when Lou, when do we vote on the budget? Release to the public when?
We are
28 days.
preparing for a May 1st public hearing and adoption date.
I'm good.
And if we vote no then, are we out of compliance? What's going to happen?
The state will take over.
of course.
The state's not going to take over.
Well-
It's a matter of, currently, we are not in compliance with the order of the director, but it's just a matter of whether they want to enforce a rule that they did put in one of their local finance notices. And as I said at the last meeting, a week, 10 days to 2 weeks, I would think that it is not an egregious of a penalty as, say, a month, 2 months, 3 months. So it'll be up to the DLGS Department of the State of whether they want to enforce it on us.
But shame on us, it's our responsibility to do this. And if it doesn't, we introduce, and it's gonna be approved, better be approved.
No,
Ah, come on.
And just for the record, you offered up another $87,000 that I second and approve, so.
You're right.
Where?
Anything else?
We're not done with this motion to
I made a
adopt
motion on the resolution.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
nah. Not in the mood.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
You didn't need me for that one, Miss Monica.
I did not need you.
You didn't need me for that one.
Hearing of citizens.
So maybe.
Hearing of citizens.
I'm going.
Okay,
I'm getting there.
just a reminder.
I'd like to open this portion of the meeting for the hearing of citizens, please.
Hi, Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I was not prepared to discuss this issue, but I heard a sentence that I didn't understand. First of all, a question. How many actual policemen do we have?
87?
Believe it's 86 currently, full-time sworn officers.
There was just an article in the paper that they're looking to hire 3 special officers or something for school, but it said we have 88 policemen. Is that right or wrong? How many actual policemen do we have? No, excuse me, it said 110.
We do not have
We do not have
110.
110.
So the article was wrong. Just check.
No, I don't believe there's ever been an article that was written that was wrong. I want to go on the record.
I didn't see the article, so I can't
It
even
was,
comment.
it was in last week's.
Technically, we might, it probably includes other officers than,
It was in the Tri-Town of the Howell Times. I'd have to go back and look. I just read it the other day. Now,
What the chief said was was it full according to ratios from reports and studies, if we were fully staffed, we'd have 110 officers.
Right, I understand.
That's what the chief said. Do we have 110?
I don't think this article said that. I think it said we have 110, but I just want to double check since you're all here. Now, my question to you is, what is this about shared services sending the seniors to Freehold? What's that supposed to
it's not
save?
gonna happen.
No, I'm asking, what is that supposed to save?
Doing away with the department.
You know how long?
I don't think anyone had put that up to be
Yeah,
pulled
but
off
you,
the
do you
table.
realize how many hours those senior citizens spend on that bus? They get picked up at 9:30, they get dropped off the center at 10:30. That's being picked up, then they gotta be taken home. People who live in South Howell, you're gonna send them to Freehold?
So
But we're not.
I just want to say, the purpose for discussion is for that, right? So Rob and I, we discussed what is reasonable and what is not reasonable. And we took it off the table because we felt not reasonable.
Definitely.
But the point is, if we don't discuss it, and we're discussing it here for public comment, but you, I think, very clearly heard that was not going to happen.
I heard the words.
You
I don't
heard
know
a
why they were
discussion.
said.
You heard it was occurred during a discussion.
If it was dismissed, it shouldn't have been brought up, because
I respectfully disagree.
you don't understand about the senior citizens.
Ma'am, this is not an argument back and forth.
And it's not because I use the center and I'm going to be sent to Freehold. But my question is, when these people are spending all these hours on these buses, being buggy lugged here, there, and everywhere, they take them over to the candy store in Freehold. Come on, you want
Did
to
you
cut stuff?
hear it approved to take off the budget?
No, I heard the words.
You heard what
And
words?
last week, you said something about you didn't want to pave the parking lot because it was $400,000, because you didn't know what you were going to be doing with the site 10 years from now. Do you realize that senior center was built with grant money, and that if it doesn't continue to be a senior center, it reverts back to the owner?
For the record,
Of the
Sally, that
grant?
was not said. For the record, that was not said.
Oh, it was
You,
said.
that was not said. They were
What was
talking
said?
about the parking lot by the police department, not by the seniors.
No, it was $400,000.
He used the word senior center as a, just a point of direction for me, basically. But the discussion today,
No, the issue was the $400,000 to
Yes.
pave the first 3 lanes of the senior center and to fix it in the back, because the drainage is not good.
Right.
Well, fix the drainage. But all I want to know is, are you aware that this building was created with a grant from Presbyterian Homes, and if it doesn't continue to be used as a senior center, I don't know what that means after 35 years, if you have to pay the money back, or you just can't use the building.
Sandra?
Somebody needs to look.
I promise that senior center is there today, tomorrow, and as long as I'm here, that senior center will remain. I don't feel anybody today or on this body thinks that the senior center should not be where it is, utilized as it is. So I know it would be a hot button for many people, and obviously yourself, but it is not an issue.
No, I'm
So
just
rest,
saying. There's
rest.
like people over there that are 80,
And we
90,
understand
100
that.
years old.
And and that's exactly what we understand too. Is there something else on the budget you heard?
No, well, no, we're talking about shared services, but I just saw a janitor out in the hallway dusting the top of a picture frame. How about eliminating a couple of not necessary employees out of DPW?
We don't have any not necessary.
Dusting the top of a picture frame?
He
Come on.
does a lot of other things.
I'm just saying. I didn't follow him, but that's not the most important
I
thing in the world.
dust the top of my picture frames.
That's true. But was it done once a year, once a month?
I hope not. I hope it's done frequently.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of issues. There's waste in this township, paper waste, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Stacks of senior newsletters are sitting over at the pantry on the last day of the month. Who in the hell's going to come in there and pick up a March newsletter that's this thick, that's wasted paper? Somebody's got to start looking at things, all right? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here for the Green Team.
Name and address for the record?
It's Jerry Barron, 37 Danella Way in Howell. I'm here about the Green Team, as I was saying. We're up for recertification this year. As a matter of fact, we have until June 3rd to recertify this year. So over the next 2 months or less, I hope, we have a lot of questions, I guess, answers we need from the people on my left and from all of you up there. A list is being made up as we talk. You're going to be getting an email shortly of things that we need to do. One's going to be a fleet. We need to know of all the fleets we have and the cars, the mileage, and different things like that. But I want to get it done hopefully over the next month, 6 weeks at the most. I don't want to be there Memorial Day weekend sweating it out. So there's going to be a little, hopefully, exchange of thoughts and things going on in the next couple of weeks. I just want to warn you. And I know, Rob, I've been in contact with you, but on their website, Sustainable Jersey, you're the only owner, and certain things have to be done as far as updating the list.
So when the Green Team was started and we set it up, not an owner, I don't know, but, and I don't have it. I know the manager was the point person and me at the time. Since I'm not the liaison anymore, I just, like I asked you to help me because I just don't have that information.
Because if you look on the list where it gives all the members, you're on it as an owner. Everybody else is a contributor.
Yeah, I don't know how they set it up. That was set up when we
Well-
first started the Green Team, so.
You can go in there and make a second owner if you want.
Okay.
It could be me.
Brian, do you have that information too? I think the manager is also one of the,
I don't currently. I can try and track it down for you.
yeah. We'll look into it, but,
We need to update the list, like George Snyder's on it, for example. He
Yeah.
doesn't work here anymore. There's a few other people have to be taken off, and other people have to get it on.
can you reach out to Laura and maybe ask Laura if there's a bypass, how we could bypass that?
Laura?
Is that, what's her name from the Green, she's one of the, I'll get you the name. I'm not sure of her name.
Whatever, but that's just,
So you're an owner, huh?
he's the
I
only
think it's an
owner.
administrator, but they call it an owner, so.
I mean, if you make me one, I can make all the changes.
Yeah, you should be
As
one.
a contributor, I can't.
Well, thanks for volunteering, Jerry.
Well, I want to get it done because it's
Sure.
points, and I don't want it to be Memorial Day weekend. I want to get this done. I also like to invite people to come to the Green Team meeting. There used to be people coming to the Green Team meeting, and it kind of stopped. I mean, we meet the last Thursday of every month, so please stop by. It's good to have somebody from council stop by and communicate,
Keep up the good work. You guys are,
We're trying
you
to,
guys are doing a
as I
good
said,
job.
We're aiming for recertification, so it's coming up.
It's
So going to
important.
be hopefully not a last-minute rush, but.
I think we got certified the first time in record time.
Yeah, we did. So let's not drop the ball here.
Deputy Mayor, if I may, actually, you had sent an email recently, or in the beginning of March, to Samantha McGraw from Sustainable Jersey.
What did I say,
requesting-
Laura, right? That's Samantha.
It's Samantha, requesting that the primary contacts be updated, and she actually did respond, of which, Jerry, you were copied on the email,
Right.
saying that the primary contacts and secondary contacts have been changed to the manager and deputy manager.
Right, but if you look on the website where it lists the members, that page.
So they didn't change it?
On our township website is what you're getting at. Okay, that we can switch.
No, I'm good,
He becomes the primary responsibility. Right. All right,
It
that's all I
was
have to
changed
say.
with
So they changed it to the manager and deputy manager, so
Right,
they'll have
but on
access-
that page, if you look,
that has
you're
to just,
listed.
that,
And, so-
I don't know.
Listen,
who-
I
don't
would
know
email
who drove it.
Samantha and put another owner, and we can solve this whole thing.
because I can't do anything, I'm kind of, I'm just a contributor, so.
You can be an owner, Joe. I make a
I used
motion
to be
Jerry
changed.
becomes an owner.
I
get
second
promoted.
it.
Again and again.
Yeah. All right, thank you, that's all I have to say, thank you.
Thanks for telling us,
Thank you for
Jerry.
your help.
God bless you, Jerry. Keep doing what you're doing.
We'll try.
I have a question. Is that because you don't have the password to get into change?
No,
Contributors can't change. He
No,
said.
I know. That's why I'm asking if there's a password, because,
Jerry, our website is up to date.
But not,
That's the same with Jersey.
he's
Jerry, you gotta
talking
go to the
about
mic, Jerry.
The Sustainable Jersey website or our township website with the green team?
Same with Jersey.
Jerry,
Okay.
big
you have to go
dogs.
to the mic, you know that.
It's Sustainable Jersey's website, yeah.
Right, you need to change that, not, the township website has been updated correctly.
so maybe just a letter from the township to go in to say that there's a change in.
She was notified. I don't know why they.
Right, she was notified.
She was notified.
But,
So-
whatever.
We'll follow up.
Things take time.
You can follow up on that, Mr. Herman?
I will do so.
Thank you.
Make Jerry an owner. We already passed the motion. I think everyone's agreed. Make Jerry an owner.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your help. Oh, just quickly, sorry, just one more thing. Rob, I think you're a key person there. I was told that you.
I'm not key, but go ahead. You can ask.
You're an owner or a key person? What else are you?
This is about the Environmental Commission. I'll switch hats here. About getting badges for the members.
The manager can answer that.
Okay. Brian?
There was some discussion about that. There was a request. I have some reservations about handing out Howell Township IDs because apparently they were handed out in the past and never collected. So there's
And
people.
then the last thing you're looking into, I understood, was
A volunteer with
But
an
they only said
expiration.
volunteer.
What's that?
The ones in the past they always said volunteer. We had them on the planning board years ago.
The one that
Volunteer
was
with an
shown to me
expiration.
did not.
Yeah, nobody has a copy of them.
I might have,
She never turned it in.
But I think they can make volunteer ones with an
I'll see if I
expiration
have
date
it.
on it. So it'll say,
Yeah.
Environmental Commission volunteer expiration date.
It expires in the year that their commission would expire?
30, you and me.
When
that what-
a decision gets made on that or something, can you CC me or something? And, we'll just,
Sure.
because I have a meeting tonight, so I'm going to follow up on it.
Is this a badge you wear, or a ID card? Just an ID card, like a business card?
It's
kind
an
of?
ID badge, because for site inspections or whatever, it identifies you for purposes,
so you don't get shot.
or thrown off the property or something.
Yeah.
It's just a common thing, but, whenever you
Right.
decide, Rob or Brian, let me know, and
I think the
I'll
manager
notify
pretty
you.
much, has it.
And nobody ever had a problem that, that you're concerned with. Nobody,
As long as it's obvious it's a volunteer, not
Right.
an employee, I think that could be the only issue that could ever come out of this that might be a problem.
I'm having a hard time with that key person and owner stuff. I really am.
That's slippery.
Tough to digest.
All right, well, thank you for your help, and let me know what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just,
Jerry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, my God.
the website has been updated already.
The sustainable website? Show Jerry.
Jerry hasn't looked at it in a while.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come up? There seeing none, I will close this portion of the meeting. Is there, for informational purposes, the municipal offices will be closed on Friday, the 30th, for Good Friday. There is a public meeting on April 4, 2018, 7 p.m. here in the main meeting room for the Trap Neuter Return Program with the Humane Society.
When is that?
Ask him.
Monday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 4th.
Or Wednesday the 4th? That's right. Easter's on the 1st.
Yes. We did have a discussion at the last meeting if we were going to cancel April 3rd.
I thought you had. It sounded, when I
No,
watched the meeting.
it was pending this meeting.
Oh, okay.
Do we need an April 3rd meeting?
I don't have anything on the agenda. I can ask my fellow professionals. Professionals, do you have anything to add to the agenda for?
I have nothing.
You have nothing.
Can I make no comment?
No comment. There you go.
Okay, so there will be no meeting on Tuesday, April 3rd. The next council meeting will be April 17th, Tuesday, 2018, 6:30 for executive session.
If I might,
Please.
we did receive a letter as we came in today from,
Watch that. Watch that.
April 3rd, when's the next one then? April 17th, right?
April
Correct.
17th.
okay,
Thank you.
I wouldn't do that.
there is an issue that I'd like the council to consider at the next meeting, which was the farmer's market information that had come in at the last meeting. If we could just look at that and have some thoughts together so that we could pass it along to them, that would be good.
I did. I'll send my email. I just had one issue, but
Okay.
I'll send that.
I don't remember seeing the email.
Councilwoman, just as a quick update, I did have some email exchanges about their proposed plan. I had expressed certain concerns. Some of them were addressed, some are still pending.
Could you pass along, forward that email? So
Sure.
that way, I have a full idea of where we're at.
You have to be careful here.
That's why that's why I'd like everybody to be in a position to discuss it.
I have an issue or a concern about that whole list of things. For instance, there were several farmers listed who were supposedly interested, but I don't believe it because they are professional farmers and sellers, and they have their own places to sell from. Why should they pay an additional $25 each time they're there, and just to pick up and carry things when they already have a steady line of customers coming to them?
Yeah, I do
It
see
doesn't
that
make
list.
sense.
Although it does say a list of potential vendors.
Yeah,
So
potential, that
maybe we
because
could-
somebody else
yeah.
thinks they might be, but that doesn't mean they're going to.
Maybe we could request that they have some kind of information on the true intent and.
Yeah,
So
from the people.
So we have a good, clear view of what we hope to do.
Because I'm not going to say who, but somebody did tell me that
Yeah.
they never said that they
No,
would
I
do that.
understand. I guess they're just trying to give us a full picture, and
Yeah.
I understand there could be
Somebody's
some
idea of a
issues.
full picture.
Possibly.
There's also, Monmouth County Health Department is having a Howell Health Fair Day. That's on April 21st. It's at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Southern School. So if anybody is interested, they're going to have some free screenings there that day as well.
Last year's was very nice. They did a lot.
And Jim, you sent an email to the governing body that the Fargus Farm closed, right? That's official, that's
Right.
done?
Yes, the Nevergreen Farm, otherwise known as the Figus Farm, we closed on that last Friday. It was supposed to be last Wednesday, it got pushed back due to the storm, but the Monmouth Conservation Foundation did advise me that they did close on that property, so we now
It's a nice
officially
sized farm, right?
own the development
No,
rights.
that's a
It was
small one.
20,
20-plus acres.
yeah, it was only 25, 26, something like that.
25 more acres that won't be built on.
Correct.
But I just want to acknowledge, I know Councilwoman Smith really led that charge, and thank you, because that was 2015 in the making, so.
My pleasure. Let's do lots more.
Yeah, good job, Paulie. We like that.
At this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes,
Mr. Walsh?
Nah.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
we're gonna
Mayor Berger.
all
Yes,
leave
ma'am.
and leave him sitting there.
And just for the record, happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter. Joyous
Happy
Passover.
Passover.